All right, welcome YouTubers for another adventure and exploration. We are way up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. We're going to be heading into a place that was very instrumental in the air defense during the Cold War of the United States and Michigan. And that's going to be Calumet Air Force Station. It's located at a hilltop called the Horace Greeley Mountain. I gotta see if I can find the road here. Should be there shortly. What I'm gonna do is, I believe it's posted, so I'll get in there and take a look. And I know in some of the past YouTube's clips, there's been some people that have been up in there. If it's posted, obviously I'm not going to do that. So we'll get a drone up. It has been kind of windy today. Kind of a little concerned about that. We're gonna see what we'll do, what the wind looks like. Worst comes to worst, we'll get up early in the morning before the sun comes up, and we'll get out here and get a flight in when the winds have calmed down a little bit. Afterwards, I'm not sure where I'm going to be at. I may be camping somewhere at a free campsite in the back of my Jeep. Interestingly, the weather is like 51 degrees. It's the last part of May, and it's supposed to drop down to 35 degrees tonight. So I guess I'm going to be bundling up. We'll see what I do. I'll keep you posted on that later. So let's see what it looks like when we get there. I'll be waiting. Alright, we're almost there to where the front gate used to be at this Air Force Station. The station originally, I think, was built, kind of started up on sometime in 1950. I think it was closed in 1988, which is interesting because that's like 4 years after I went into the service myself. So it was up here a long time. And I can only imagine what it was like to come out here as a airman that's leaving a duty station, say from down in Texas or something. There's a significant amount of snowfall that occurs up here. I snowmobile up here, and there can be feet of snow. It's not uncommon to see 10, 15 feet of snow, and I'm not sure what the record is, but I know it's a lot. The Calumet Peninsula is known for a lot of snow, so it's a very nice place to snowmobile if there's no snow anywhere else. It's just kind of a little bit of a ride from where I'm located down there in Minnesota. But let's see what we got here. We're getting close. I would guess it's probably up there by that tower. I came up here one time on a snowmobile, but things look significantly different in the snow, and there's no leaves on the trees and everything. So we obviously we're looking for something different. It's going to be around here on the left. So if you were coming up here in 1960 or even 70, it was a very lonely area, I can imagine. Especially if you had left your family back and you were geographical bachelor for that particular tour. I know at least one. Oh, there we are here. Here we are. Let's pull in here and take a look and see what we got. All right. This is interesting. Apparently it is to be sold for auction. Interesting. No trespassing, passing private property. For access, contact the sheriff's office. Now, I know it's under video surveillance. They've had that for a reason. There's been people up in there that have been vandalizing it, which is unfortunate, but this was kind of the main entrance. And it was used for a while by, I think it was some kind of a child's or maybe a juvenile facility. And that may be why the sheriff's office has it, or will give you access. It says private property, so I'm not sure who owns it now. It probably is the county that owns it, but I didn't know it was going to be up for auction. That's interesting. I wonder what they're planning on doing with it, because it does have some contamination issues, so I'm not sure what they'll be doing with that. I'm going to take a look around here and see where I can get a drone up, maybe across the street here, and I'll get that airborne and we'll see what we can find. Welcome, YouTubers, to another spellbinding adventure with Mustang Adventure and Exploration. Today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at the blue skies of the Upper Peninsula of Michigan and what was known as the Calumet Air Force Station, or P-16, call sign Pillow and Formula, which was in operation roughly from 1950 to 1979. Coming into from the south here, you can see the Gator site off on the lower left. I'll explain a little bit more about that later and how that works. And you're coming up onto the foundations to all the FPS radar systems which were in place and were constantly being advanced in order to meet the Soviet threat, which was perceived to be coming over the northern areas of North America. The 665th Aircraft Control Warning Squadron was activated on the 27th of November 1950 atop Mount Horace Greeley. The elevation was 1,540 feet. Interestingly enough, Horace Greeley was actually an editor of the New York Times and an 1872 presidential candidate and congressman. He was born in Amherst, New Hampshire in 1811. He died in November of 1872 at the age of 61. I'm not sure why a mountaintop in the UP of Michigan was named after a New England paper editor, but it was. I'm not sure how that occurred. Didn't really find anything that said why that was the case. Very interesting area up here. As you can see, it provided a great view for any radar systems you might have looking back to the north to meet the Soviet threat that was perceived at that time during the Cold War. You can see coming into view here in the lower left, those three buildings with a lot of windows are barracks. They were utilized by the enlisted men for their housing. You also had a motor T building down there, commissary, recreation hall. You had a tennis court, a softball court. That long building below the foundation that has an active cell tower on it now was actually a headquarters building, and then to the left of that, the square white building was actually a heating plant. And then farther north of that, was the commissary. The other buildings were farther back. There's basic bachelor officer quarters, and then up on the top part there, the big building was an operations building. So all of those round sites, the two closest to us in the filming there, were actually the location for the FPS 5 and the FPS 26A. The taller one was the site of the FPS 27, and then there was the one in the back was the FPS 6. I think the big thing to understand about these terms is really that each one of those systems was an advance on the previous system, and it allowed us a more technologically advanced view of any possible attacks coming over the top of North America as technology developed. The empty area that I'm starting to head towards here was what was known as the upper housing area. There were apparently three areas: upper housing, middle housing, and then the lower housing area. And those areas housed 45 government single-family homes with families that could be brought along on either a 24-month accompanied tour or a 15-month unaccompanied tour. Oftentimes these families were being brought in, like I said earlier, from areas where the weather was a little bit different than what it could be in the Calumet Peninsula, which can get to 20 below, 75 degrees, and basically you can have 80 to 250 inches. I think the record's 355 inches in 78, 79, so that's basically about 29 feet of snow. And that is a lot of shoveling if you're a young man that just rolled in from Texas. The middle housing area here, I don't know what the status is of those houses. They don't look in too bad a shape, and I'll overlay some of the early pictures of some of these houses. You could see more emphasis put on the second flight that I did the next day. The weather was spectacular. I went up there early and right at sunrise and got airborne. I got a little bit more focus here on these housing areas here. Then you see the lower housing area in the center there, and then a gator site, a GATR site, and basically it was a ground communication system. There was a north gator site and a south gator site, both on the installation, and I'm not sure how they worked in conjunction with each other. I know they had passed data back and forth to aircraft that were launched from KI Sawyer, also in the UP, Michigan, towards unidentified aircraft that could possibly be hostile and headed inbound. And their job at these ground-to-air transmitter receiver sites, or gator sites, was to communicate with these interceptors using either digital data link or voice commands. You get right down in the lower right, you can see a little concrete thing with round rocks around it, or circular rock pattern. That was actually the main gate right there. The guard shack was off on the other side, and there was an airplane. Might have been a P-80 shooting star that was actually mounted there. And the road runs back down to the road I came in on. So the main gate was actually just below where my aircraft is right now, flying over. So I'm heading back down here to where I launched. I had a lot of wind going that day, and it was making it very interesting, and I didn't want to get too overextended on the range of the aircraft with the winds. So I made a decision at that point that I was probably going to be coming back based on the weather forecast the next morning, and I was glad I did. It's beautiful, beautiful sunrise up there. But like I said, The base had many challenges, and those were mostly based upon the location or remoteness and the climate. And it did a spectacular job back in its day of protecting our northern borders, along with other aircraft that were or other radar stations that were utilized during the Cold War. Got one more flyover here of, you see the locations of the foundations, around foundations where these various radars were, and I'll go through what they are and when they were there. It's probably not going to mean a lot to anybody unless you were actually there. Just a spectacular view. I have been up here, like I said, I snowmobile up here too, but I've been up there in the fall, and it is just unbelievable up there. Those are all hardwoods, and the location up there on that mountain gives you a spectacular 360-degree view. So, and then we coming back towards the Southern Gator site, which was a series of antennaes that were able to communicate the data link. So I'm going to be getting off here, and I'll take you into the adventurous evening portion of the camp portion of this trip. I was almost eaten alive by the bugs, but we'll get to that, and then we'll get airborne first thing in the morning and run you through there. All right, so completed the drone flight. Got some really good footage. I think the plan is going to be I am going to find a spot out here at a little free campsite area. The bugs may be getting too bad, I don't know, but it's 51 degrees now. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get up early. The weather's supposed to be spectacular this tomorrow morning. So I think I'm going to get up and get back up to the location. I'm about probably 20 miles to the south. Get back up to the location, and I will launch before the sun comes up, see if I can't get some pretty cool pictures and drone footage then. And for now, I think I'm gonna call it an evening. It's even though it's still light out, it's actually 9:30. Find me a spot here. That might be a good spot there. And throw my stuff here in the back of the Jeep, because I'm not gonna tent it. Bugs are actually pretty bad, even though it's supposed to cool off tonight to 35, I think it is tonight. By the morning they'll be pretty sluggish, but for now they're eating everything, to include me. So we'll see how this works out. So we'll see you in the morning when I get back on road before the sun comes up. Morning, everybody. We are up bright and early. We're going to get up to our location, which we got about, I don't know, 15 more minutes or so. We'll get up there and we'll get a drone airborne to catch the sunrise at the same time. Over the same location, Calumet Air Force Station. It was pretty cold last night, actually. It was about 32 degrees, believe it or not, and it still is 32 degrees. Probably could have actually brought a beanie hat. Would have been helpful. They have a set of gloves stashed in here somewhere. We're going to get this thing in the air, get it all set up, and then get it in the air. And then we're going to head back home after we get everything secure, and we'll get this processed and we'll get it posted up. So if you have any questions or anything, or if you served here at the Calumet Air Force Station, or want to add some comments about what daily life was like, by all means go ahead and post it down below. And we appreciate everything that you've done for your country, to include serving at this extremely remote location. A lot of hardship at a location like this. It really is. Especially when you get out of here and take a look how far out this place really is. It is pretty remote. I'm not sure if this might have been one of the most remote locations. I don't know, Minot maybe before the day, Minot Air Force Base, and maybe Boring Air Force Base in Maine, and maybe even Mouseville. But this is a different level. This is out here pretty far. So appreciate everything you've done there, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe. And if we get enough people that do like this type of stuff, we'll go ahead and keep finding these locations, and we'll keep posting them. Thanks. Alright folks, we're here. We're airborne. And we just took off at this incredible, beautiful site here. I know as soon as I got it airborne and stabilized it up there, I took a look at it and just kind of sat there and stared at the screen for a little bit. Just a remarkable view. Just incredible. And I can imagine this is one of the things that probably drew some of these young men up there that enjoyed the nature of that area and the remoteness of it. I know for me it would have been an area that I actually probably would have enjoyed, but I'm a outdoorsman anyways, and this would certainly have fit the bill for a young person that was looking for that type of adventure. Couldn't have picked a better couple of days. First day was a little windy, but other than that, it was spectacular. So once it starts lightening up a little bit here, you'll start seeing where I'm moving into. I'm actually off to the west of the installation. In the center of the picture there, rotating to the left, is 3 holding pools. I don't know if they were originally there. I don't see them on the map. There's no other housing areas there. There's no other places there. I don't know if it's a wastewater treatment type thing. There are no other houses around there, so I don't know what it actually is. But so if somebody should know, please add in the comments for me down below. So as I stated earlier, I was going to get back into some of the FPS equipment. The way to look at it is the FPS were basically radar systems. The first ones that initially entered into service in '53 were the FPS 5, the 3, 20, and 64. And I think the 3 and the 5 were in '53, and in '56 they were changed to the FPS 6. And eventually replaced by the FPS 5 height finder. You know, that may not mean a lot to a lot of you, but the best way to look at it is it was a continuing advancement of equipment. Certainly does look a little bit different up here and that early in the morning. The drone camera can do odd things with some of the lighting, but obviously has enough light to see everything that's out there in front of it right now. So right down there below is the commissary. And then actually somewhere out there, there's a, right underneath where we're at here, maybe it's in that clearing area, there was actually it was an old radio site. I think it was also used later on as the youth center, I believe. So at some point in here, it was also redesignated as the 665th Radar Squadron, and then they moved from what was called a Sage site to a Buick site, and a Buick site is just an advanced type of surveillance methodology, and the Buick system could provide a backup to the Sage Direction Center and provide the ability to display sector-wide radar data on a console. So pretty advanced for the time. Pretty advanced. You see that one tower there where the FPS 27 was, now has a cellular antenna system on it now. Looking back, actually I guess it would be to the northeast. The sun's still rising up. So in 1956, FPS 20 search radar was deployed to the site, and then again in 1961, that radar was upgraded to the FPS 64. Then in 63, the year before that, the FPS 27 search radar and 26 Alpha, and then the FPS 90 height finder radar also went into service. Sadly enough, though, the whole base, you see the Chow Hall Lower Center there, always co-located with the barracks, and then off in the distance was the motor T facility. Sadly enough, they underwent cease operations in October, or entered cease operations October 79, and then the 26 Alpha was removed, but the decision to close was reversed, and then they had another advanced radar called an FPS 91, which was replaced the 27, which was later installed. And then 1988, the decision was made to close for good. So it had a good long run. And you take a look at it, that's a long time. A lot of these radar surveillance bases were kind of short-lived. I believe the Terry Amarillo one was only 9 years. So this is the middle housing area. And interestingly enough, you'll see another clip of it here in a little bit. In the center left, there is I don't know what those are. There's a building there and two round siloed like things. I don't know if that was a water supply or not. I'm not sure. It could have been. But never really got a good feel for that being a water system. I suppose it could be. So the base originally actually was called the Calumet Radar Site before it was designated as the Calumet Air Force Station, which was named for a town that's to the south of the base there. Here we've got a orbit over the middle housing area and the lower housing area. I'm not sure if the lower one here, you got a garage between them. That might have been accompanied officer housing. It's almost what it looks like due to the fact that they've got garages. So, like I said, in 1958, the SAGE, or the Semi-Automatic Ground Environment computers, were really good at handling high-speed aircraft updates due to computers that were put into place. 1969, the Buick 3 backup intercept control system assumed the duties of the SAGE system, but it was utilized to pass data to aircraft that were being sent to intercept. I believe that system could actually, the controllers could take control of the aircraft and vector it to towards a bad guy's location. So you can still see the garage door standing on this building. The building's down, but you can see the garage door frame and door still up. And I assume that was water supply. I do have a couple older pictures of the houses I'm going to try to insert in here. See if you can match up the antique picture with the overflight of the of that particular building. So as I said, eventually after this was closed down, I think it was the Calumet Reformatory School took over, and then it was turned over to the county. And I don't know what is going to be done to it now. I don't know. I think somebody could possibly purchase it. Obviously, it's in a status of being up for auction. It's supposed to be sold sometime in the summer of 2021, but I do not know if cleanup is going to preclude any cost benefits that they could get out of this installation. What could it be used for? It could be used for a recreational facility, a resort. In the winter, there's constantly people up there looking for places for snowmobiling, housing. You know, a lot of folks go up there for a week or so and hang out. Looking back, you can see the Gator facility back there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think there's 10 antenna towers back there. So what those would do, they would provide a ground air link to the vector. Usually it was F-106 Delta Dart aircraft to a target. And I think it was a Hughes ANARR-60 set that was in the aircraft. And it was used to do all-weather intercept. And the F-106 Delta Dart was a great aircraft for that. Outstanding aircraft for it. So these systems would link with the aircraft and actually allow controllers on the ground to steer that aircraft right into the area where they had seen something on their radar screens that were concerning. Interesting facility. I would like to get a look inside some of those buildings, but that's the way it goes. It is decaying and it has been vandalized. There are some graffiti noted up there. So the county has placed cameras up there in various areas to catch people from going up there and identifying who it is that's doing vandalism. So if you're doing that, stop it. It's not your property. It belongs to somebody else. As I said, there's possibly some contamination issues related to using solvents to clean the radomes or the coverings that went over these radars that sat on these round foundations here. I'd like to see it developed into for something, tourism or private housing. I don't know. I know it's a total of 105 acres. It goes along with it. You look at some of the early pictures and the conditions up there, and the individuals that went up there really were challenged by conditions that they found. And those conditions were remoteness, I guess certainly loneliness if you're single. Closest bigger town is going to be Houghton, Hancock. So it was a ways off. It was 30, 35 minutes to the south. And I don't know what those places were like in the 50s or 60s. But, so, as you can see, some of the houses look in fairly decent shape, but I'm not sure what they look like inside. That's some pretty overflight here as the lighting conditions developed a little bit better. You can see that little square down there on the roadway. That was actually the guard shack right there on the lower right. The guard shack entrance to the base. So I will be certainly searching for some more of these. I know there's a lot of them out there. There's a lot up in North Dakota, and you'll see me posting a lot more of these. I'm going to try to get into some of the old Army Air Force or Army Air Corps bases that are located. I've been to a couple in Texas, or some down in Nebraska and Fairmont, Nebraska. I may do that one next. I'm not sure. I guess you'll have to hang in there and come in and take a peek once in a while and see what's going on and see where I'm going to next. And that in and of itself should be interesting. I'll throw in some oddities along the way just to keep everybody's interest peaked. If any of you out there have any recommendations, you can certainly go ahead and put those in the comments down below, and I'll do some research on it. See if I can't get there to some of the locations. Certainly makes it interesting if I know that there's people that are going to actually be taking a look at these also. So it looks like there's 12 towers. It's amazing how the technology is advanced from that type of early technology to the technologies of today. I did fly more on the second day than I did the first day, mainly because the conditions were a little bit better. It wasn't about a 30 knot, 25, 30 knot crosswind that I started to experience on the first day, which is a little bit concerning for a drone operator as far as winds getting that high. But so you see there's a second gator site over there on the right hand side. It does have a building. I don't know, one might have been a transmit, one might have been a receive. Not exactly positive on that, and I can't really find anything that tells me anything different than that. And finally, these holding ponds. There's 3 of them. Interestingly enough, the snowmobile trail that we usually go blasting up through is just beyond that. You can see the red trail there on the other far side of it. I guess over the years I've gone rolling by this thing and never known that that base was right up over the hill there. But if you do know what these are, please by all means go ahead and post it down in the comments down below. And as I start my letdown and final approach for landing, please feel free to throw in any questions, and most importantly, go ahead and like content if you like it, and subscribe, and we'll continue to post some of these interesting areas of the country that not everybody can probably get into. So have a good day, take care, and we'll see you next time.